It's so quiet.
It's the deep breath before the plunge.
I don't want to be in a battle. But waiting on the edge of one I can't escape is even worse.
What is it that makes a battle scene great? If you were to ask me, it's what happens before the battle that matters most. The motivations behind those who are in this fight, those who are willing to risk it all, are what fuel an emotionally engaging and memorable battle. The bond that drives our favorite characters to stand steadfast in the face of certain death is the only thing that makes a battle worth experiencing in the first place. It is the reason why the Rohirrim charge from Lord of the Rings is so goddamn powerful, and the Dwarven charge from The Hobbit, Battle of Five Armies, isn't.
How do you like that? The old twiddly whiddlies? Haha, you buggers!
The battle for Winterfell would mean nothing if the reunions, relationships, knighthoods, giant stories, and internal struggles were glossed over or pushed aside. It is these quiet and somber character moments that compose the deep breath, and it is the coming battle for Winterfell that makes for the inevitable plunge. A plunge that would ultimately be meaningless without a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms reminding us what is worth fighting for. This is the deep breath before the plunge. This is why a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is my favorite episode of Game of Thrones. The episode opens with what is, without a doubt, the most anticipated reunion of characters the show will likely ever have. The Kingslayer has come to Winterfell alone, and he is now willingly at the mercy of the daughter of the man he killed, the boy he pushed out a window and attempted to kill, and the sister-brother duo whose father he captured and was inevitably killed. Jaime, my man, you picked a hell of a time to finally come around, didn't you? This scene really is the culmination of so many storylines and character arcs. But it works on an even deeper level than that because it acts as a resolution of the anti-war theme that George has been hammering into us since Ned got his neck clipped in Season 1. Revenge, vengeance, retribution, justice, whatever you want to call it, isn't gonna fly anymore because death is right outside our doors coming for us all. It is no longer about Targaryens, Starks, Lannisters. It's about living and dying. And the only way you make it through that is acceptance and forgiveness. This theme of acceptance, this union of the living, then permeates throughout the rest of the episode. And we are treated to some of the best character moments Game of Thrones has ever produced. The Hound whipping out a classic one-liner on Beric. Jaime reciting Tyrion's dream way to go. Tyrion jesting at their father's face if he saw them defending Winterfell, with Jaime's delayed chuckle, of course. Podrick busting out a beautiful serenade. Cheeky bastard can fuck, fight, and sing. Forget Jon or Jaime. This magnificent specimen is the real Azor Ahai. Hashtag Pod is the prince who was promised. Arya proving to Gendry that she wears the pants in this relationship. Twice. And Tormund giving us the legend behind Giantsbane. If you weren't a fan of Tormund, you damn well better be now, because that story was legend.
Wait for it. And I hope you're not lactose intolerant because the second half of that word is
dairy. This is Game of Thrones in its element. This is why people fell in love with this show in the first place. Because not only was it character dialogue written genuinely and to perfection, but it was character moments that served as resolution to the themes and narrative arcs ingrained in the show from the very beginning. All of these characters are finally united and fighting for the living. They are singing, drinking, fucking, and waiting to die. Willing to die together after all of these years. The pinnacle of this triumph in the face of looming death comes with the knighting of Sir Brienne of Tarth. This scene. This magnificent fucking scene. I'm gonna try my best to convey to you why and how this scene means so goddamn much, but I'm most likely going to miss some reasons, because quite frankly, there's a million why this scene might be one of the best the show has ever produced. Brienne can't even accept that it is really happening at the beginning. She scoffs at the idea and glances to Podrick, initiating a conversation between the two of them that needs no words. It is, of course, something Brienne has always wanted, but in her world, having that dream was something unimaginable. It was easier for Brienne to not believe something like that could ever happen than it was to live hoping and dreaming. So when it starts happening, she still doesn't let herself accept it. And Podrick stares back at her, disappointed that in that moment, she's allowed herself not to accept it. Oh, but it's happening, whether she wants to accept it or not, and Jaime does not allow her to relent either. With one final smirk at Pod and a smile back filled with encouragement and reassurance, Brienne finally drops the guard she's kept up her entire life and lets herself accept that which she's always dreamed of. Who else but Brienne deserves to be a knight? The most honorable, loyal, and courageous woman? Nay, person in the Seven Kingdoms is Brienne of Tarth. And without missing a beat, Tyrion, Tormund, Pod, and Davos stand up at attention. They are about to witness history. They are about to witness a moment to be remembered for all time. Now remember, this is Jaime Lannister doing the knighting. The man who is viewed as the most dishonorable knight in all of Westeros. The Kingslayer. The man who was just being judged for his numerous, demonstrable crimes but a few hours earlier. But it is also the man who armed Brienne with Oathkeeper. The man who is now about to knight her using Widow's Wail. Both swords crafted from the Valyrian steel harvested from the Stark family blade, Ice. The family that once judged him dishonorable is also the family that bestowed upon him the tools that now allow him to finally be perceived as the most honorable man we all know him to be. The knight who has always been perceived as an oathbreaker is going to do an undeniably honorable act and knight the person who deserves it above all others. I don't know about you, but Jaime could melt down the Night King, ride down to King's Landing, drown Cersei in the Night King's watery remains, and that still wouldn't be as honorable as knighting Sir Brienne of fucking Tarth. The literary and cinematic perfection of this scene, if it doesn't bring tears to your eyes, I don't see how anything else could. This, however, is Game of Thrones, and if you thought we'd be taking the plunge without any internal struggles still festering within these characters,
you haven't been paying attention.
The only thing worth writing about is the human heart in conflict with itself. The idea stems from the famous Nobel Prize-winning novelist William Faulkner, and it is the notion that makes Game of Thrones the heart-wrenching masterpiece that it is. In any other story, the heroes would be triumphantly banded together, united and steadfast in their beliefs and ambitions, but not here, not with Jon and Dany. Before facing annihilation, Jon must tell her the truth, the one truth that will rip Dany apart and force her to choose between what's right and the destiny that's made her what she is. That destiny that has consumed her existence, rightful ruler of the Seven Kingdoms, is a lie. You never were the rightful queen, and the man you now love, he's the one who's supposed to have your throne. Now, this may just be me reading into it a little bit, but did you notice Jon's face when he realizes how enraged Dany is? When he realizes that the only thing she truly cares about is her throne? It's not her fault, really. Her entire life has been about taking her birthright back. It is the only thing she's ever known. But Jon's not like that. Jon would give up the throne for his people, and he realizes this in that moment. He realizes Sam could be right. She may not be willing to give up that which she sacrificed everything for. Not for the people, and seemingly not for him. And then the horn sounds. Fuck my ass. The dead have arrived, and our two champions are at odds with one another. It shouldn't matter. The war between the living and the dead should be the only thing these characters live for now. But it's not. Not in a Game of Thrones. It is these internal struggles of the human heart that defines this story. It is why we love these characters so much, and why we believe they'd be willing to die over them. These battles that are coming, the plunge that awaits us, I'm sure it will rival some of the biggest and best action set pieces we've ever seen put to film. But if you were to ask me, the deep breath of a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is the reason we are going to care so deeply in the first place.
Never wanted to leave.
Once again, the gods spread the cheeks to ram cock in fucking ass.